Hello physical fiends, here are some nice new announcements for physical games on the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation and Xbox. Paper Mario Thousand Year Door finally has a release date and a physical 100% confirmed. I mean, it wasn't in doubt, but it's always nice to know for sure. One of the best JRPGs Nintendo's ever made, finally getting a re-release on modern consoles, so you don't have to pay hundreds of dollars for it, and maybe I will get the chance to play it myself. I've heard nothing but unhinged thoughts about it. Yeah, special bunch of fans for this one. Maybe I can join the cult. It looks great, and it's releasing super soon in May. And if you want to pre-order it or any of the games in this video, please consider using the links below. That massively helps support me. VGP is a fantastic company with good prices in favorable Canadian bookage, with cheap shipping to the US and even free shipping worldwide if you spend over 80 Canadian dollars. I thank you kindly for your support. Luigi's Mansion 2 is getting a physical release as well. Again, we could have assumed this, although maybe not the $60 price tag. That's a tough one to swallow. If you're gonna charge that, they should have at least have included the first game too in like a double pack. Seems a bit meager as is. Personally, at this point, I just grabbed the Japanese physical, which is like $40 thanks to the weak yen. That's still more expensive than the original version launched at. I have to say though, it is an absolutely excellent game. I loved it on my 3DS, one of the best on the system. Not as good as Luigi's Mansion 3, but still a really fun time. One Last Breath is getting a release on PS5 and Nintendo Switch in June. This is an atmospheric adventure and puzzle game, and it looks just like that. The perfect pigeonhole. Looks like it could be a decent one. I don't have much to say about it. Citizen Sleeper is finally getting a physical release. I feel like this was always an obvious choice for a few publishers out there. Bit of an artistic cult hit, inspired by tabletop RPGs in a sci-fi setting. It's one that's difficult to convey in screenshots or PR pieces. It's kind of one that you have to play in order to, really get what it's all about. I do know that it's good though. The physical release is coming with a poster, a sticker sheet, and art cards releasing at the end of June. Monster Hunter Stories. Oh boy, settle down kids, Daddy's got a lecture for you. This is a strange one. So you know that the original Monster Hunter Stories is getting ported to the Switch, the 3DS game. Well, for a physical, in North America, the only release is a collection of Stories 1 and Stories 2. The first game is on the cartridge, while the second game is a download code. So even if you already own Stories 2, which released physically ages ago and has been going fairly cheap these days, you have to buy it again, but as a download code. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but generally Capcom in the West, kind of moronic, but at least not as bad as Europe, who's not getting anything because their one European employee is still taking a siesta. Wake up, man. But for those who are sane, well, we have Japan. Japan is getting a physical release of the first game by itself for a really cheap price. At the time of making this video, PlayAsia have it for just $22. Much better than the inflated price that comes with the useless download code for the ESRB release. If you already own Stories 2, then check the links below for the Japanese version. Japan always knows what's up. It has English, so don't need to worry about that. And even if you don't own Stories 2, what you can just do is buy Stories 2 by itself for cheap, buy this Japanese release for cheap, and together it's probably cheaper than the ESRB release of the collection. Also, just to note, some may state, hey, there's an Asian version. Why is that $60, not $22? Well, that's just a placeholder. I wouldn't worry about that just yet. Read-only memories Neurodiver is getting a physical release on Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 5, coming in both a standard edition as well as a collector's edition. This is the long awaited sequel to 2064 Read-only Memories, which may also be making an appearance in this video. That was done by Limited Run, but thankfully this game is by Serenity Forge, a much nicer company. So this is an adventure game of sorts, inspired by the likes of Snatcher, classics like that, and it looks great. Right up my alley, good sci-fi stuff. 2064 Read-Only Memories is getting a new release on the Switch. Yes, a long time after Limited Run did this, we are finally getting a wider retail release of what is quite an expensive game to get a hold of now. Very similar to the upcoming sequel. Rather interesting game overall, and supposedly this release will have a fully updated version on the carts, which is always a nice bonus. This one doesn't have a collector's edition, just a decently priced standard edition. My Little Pony: A Zephyr Heights Mystery is a 3D platformer set in the My Little Pony world, and it's looking a bit like Spyro, which is always a decent series to try and copy. I don't know jack about this, aside from the fact it seems Pony fans are distraught that this generation of the series keeps getting video games, but the previous one, which is the one that resurrected the franchise, didn't get like any. I don't know what the difference is, guys, but this is releasing in May on Switch, PS4, PS5, and Xbox. Sky Ocean's Wings for Hire is getting a physical release on Switch and PlayStation 5. This is a fascinating looking game that's, I'm probably more hyped for it than I should be. It's obviously influenced by Skies of Arcadia, which is, always going to lead to my disappointment because nothing can come close to that masterpiece. But part of me is super interested in playing this Sky-based RPG. I'm definitely giving it a go. It's P-Cube, so it's obviously going to be heavily budgeted, but at least they have some heart put into it. Looking forward to it. It's coming in September. Selfloss is releasing physically this summertime on Switch and PS5. It's supposed to be a moving narrative game and emotional adventure. Not sure why, but it's rated 18 in the UK. That must have some like hardcore gambling or something in there. That sounds fun. Wargroove 1 and 2 is getting a physical release in Japan with English. This is a double pack of both the excellent strategy games in one very affordable cartridge. Remember, the first game did get a Western physical release, but strangely the second one did not. I don't know why. I don't think they promoted the second game too much. So this is currently the only way to get the sequel physically. If you already have the first game, maybe a little bit annoying, but this is hardly breaking the bank. PlayAsia have it for like $28. They'd charge that just for a single game in the West. This is coming May 30th, and if you click the PlayAsia links below for this, you can get 5% off with my code Jordan24, and of course I thank you kindly for my support. And this is also relevant to the next game. Thunder Ray is PlayAsia's latest exclusive release that's coming to the Switch and PS5. This is a boxing game that wants to be like Punch-Out, and it looks like a lot of fun. Pre-orders open for this on Thursday in both the standard and collector's edition. A nice bonus for this release is that the DLC will be included on the cart and the disc. Lempo is getting a physical release on PS5 in a standard and deluxe edition from Red Arc Games. The ESRB version is available at VGP. This is a psychological horror game inspired by Finnish folklore. It's about getting lost in the woods, which is a bit tropey, but hey, have you ever been lost in the forest? It's not nice. And this is like deep in Finland, so it's unlikely you'll stumble across some stashed dirty magazines. That's literally the only silver lining of getting lost in the woods. Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown is getting a physical release on PS5 and Xbox. This was like a legendary series when I was growing up, but now it's in the hands of Nacon, and I don't think it has quite the same pull as it used to. Interestingly, you can drive around a fully one-to-one Hong Kong, which sounds awesome. Love driving around tiny one-way streets with poorly thought-out planning because, hey, it was the 19th century and who knew what buses were. It's coming later this year. Terminator Survivor is another one from Nacon, but this one has me a bit more hopeful because last year they did the RoboCop game, which was supposedly way better than it had any right to be. Made with limited resources but came out super commendable like all games should be. Didn't cost $1 billion to make. This is an open world game where you try and survive post-Judgment Day. Wait, I thought they stopped Judgment Day. Do you mean T2 was useless? God damn it. And there we have it, some nice physical announcements. Please use the links below if you want to pre-order any of them. I massively appreciate it because it supports me so much. And please let me know if any of these games are taking your fancy. Which ones are you looking forward to?